Hey D&D fans, it's time to make that switch to the new but not really new edition. Don't think about it too much, just give us your money. Act now, sign up at D&D Beyond and become a super duper mega deluxe ultra milked member. And you'll get early access to the new edition that you and everyone else who won't get early access has already paid for. I love me some pre-orders. So hurry over and sign up today. All your friends are doing it and you should too. You don't want to be the only one left without D&D 2024, do you? Warning: incoming speculation and opinions. Hello adventurers, and welcome back to Fudge and Dice. Today we're diving into one of the biggest topics in the tabletop RPG world, D&D 2024, 1D&D, D&D 5.5, whatever you want to call it, it's on the table today. Now the main point for being here, the main point of this video is to ask the question, is this a new edition, which they kind of claim it isn't, or is it just ERRATA that we're being asked to pay for? But that's not all. There's a bigger story here. We'll talk about Wizards of the Coast's recent shady dealings, including the OGL controversy and, yes, even sending Pinkertons after a YouTuber. Not to mention the latest debacle with D&D Beyond attempting to force its subscribers to use D&D 2024. Now, that particular controversy has more or less been addressed, and I think people are fairly happy with the outcome. But it just kind of seems to be the latest in a long line, a big pattern that Wizards of the Coast has in making a buck at the expense of the customer experience, at the expense of those who elevated D&D in the first place. In addition to these points, we'll also draw some comparisons to the release of D&D 3.5 and ask a bigger question. Is Wizards of the Coast attempting to turn D&D into a digital cash cow? First, let's talk about the core rulebooks. WotC is rolling out new versions of the Player's Handbook, Dungeon Master's Guide, and Monster Manual. But here's the thing. These quote-unquote new books are really just tweaks of what we already have. We're getting rebalanced classes, clarified rules, and some reorganized content. Now, all of that is good, but I've always said that the D&D 5th edition books, especially the Player's Handbook, are laid out in one of the most nonsensical, least intuitive, least player-friendly ways I've ever seen in a game book. So if we're being honest, we can admit that at least layout changes should have occurred before 5th edition was even cleared to print. Any test reader worth a single damn that has ever played tabletop role-playing games before could have told them this layout is trash. But I digress. In watching everything that's been going on and just kind of paying attention to the rollout of D&D 2024, I couldn't help but think something about this sounds familiar. I've caught a familiar scent in my nostrils. And that led me back to D&D 3rd edition, because it's exactly what happened with the shift from 3rd edition to 3.5. And lest we forget, D&D 3rd edition is the first edition that was published by Wizards of the Coast. Back then, one could argue the switch was even more egregious, as 3rd edition had only lasted about 3 years before they produced 3.5. Back then, WotC made a bunch of minor updates, they slapped on a new edition label, and made us all buy the books again, which history repeats itself, here we are. But at least this one had a run of 10 years, so not as bad. Regardless, it's hard to not see this as a way to milk more money from the players without offering much in the way of true innovation. And let's be real, most of these changes could have been released as ERRATA or free updates or even a moderately priced supplement. From what I've seen, the only real innovation in this version is the weapon mastery system and a couple of other minor tweaks like epic boons. Everything else is more or less harvested from existing supplements and put into the Player's Handbook or the DM's Guide. It seems like a glorified patch, which keeps this nagging question in the back of my mind, which is more and more coming to the forefront. Is this really about improving the game? Or is it more about squeezing dollars out of a successful product line and transitioning that to a digital arena where Wizards of the Coast has full control and a bigger arsenal to screw the player and other creators? The whole rollout of this D&D, well, it started as one D&D, now it's D&D 2024, just has me thinking, is this some kind of backdoor to accomplish what they set out to accomplish with the original OGL debacle? Through the digital platform, are they hoping to circumvent the independent game designers and create a funnel so that everything leads back to Wizards of the Coast? Everything important must be gotten from D&D Beyond, thus finding a way to take that cut that they wanted. During the OGL controversy, if you recall, Wizards of the Coast also wanted to have more creative control over what third-party creators were making. In effect, they wanted to gatekeep wrongthink. With that in mind, think about the new species. Not races, species. One of the key features that used to make characters unique and special and more customized have now been boiled down to skins on a video game character. First, we had to change the name race because, well, that has bad connotations to it if you think a certain way. For normal people, it's just a word. Next, we had to get rid of ability score modifiers because, well, nobody should be better at something than someone else simply because of genetics, right? That's not a thing. That's science or something. So now each race or species has been boiled down to simply cosmetic appearance and a couple of abilities. And for the sake of the video's runtime, I'm just not going to get into how downright stupid some of those ability changes are, in my opinion, of course. What I'm trying to get at with all of this race, species change stuff is creative control, right? That's one thing that Wizards of the Coast wanted control over so they can control the narrative of any third-party publishers. Anything they were putting out, they wanted to be able to say, yes or no, that's wrong, we don't think that way, you shouldn't think that way, blah, blah, blah. So making a change like this kind of seems targeted at that line of thought, where if we change from race to species, homogenize these creatures, and kind of make them clean, what we see as clean, then third-party independent publishers who want to publish product will now need to get in line with our viewpoints regarding species.
Fine. We get one thing straight. You're staying. This isn't a democracy anymore.
Now, I realize all of this probably sounds a bit conspiratorial to normies, to people who are just living their lives, not really paying attention to any of this cultural clash nonsense that's been going on. And that's perfectly understandable, as I probably sound like I'm describing a corporate villain from a dystopian future sci-fi movie. But as they like to say, the future is now. So ask questions, look around with open eyes, and ask yourself also, why the pre-order system? Why can't a company like Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast, because they're not one and the same, why can't this company simply release all 3 core books at the same time if they're going to do a release of a new, not new edition? Well, for me, it pretty much boils down to one of 2 things. Either they know they don't have a top quality product, and they're putting out something that might be crap, or, the more likely scenario, they realize that this isn't really a new edition at all, even though they didn't really sell it as one. But they know there's very little innovation here, there's very little changes, and they didn't even bother to change a lot of the things that the fans have been complaining about for years. So, make it a pre-order. Once they buy it, we have their money, ship them the book, they can complain all they like. And then we'll say, oops, sorry about that, here's some errata that you don't have to pay for. So, final thoughts. Wizards of the Coast is not a company you can trust. They've proven time and time again that the customer means very little to them outside of dollar signs. and they're going to do everything they can to maximize profits at anyone's expense. The customers, third-party creators, you name it. They don't care. All they care about is maximizing profit, which they're a corporation, to be fair. That should be their concern. But there's an ethical way to conduct yourself as a business. There's a way you should treat your customers, and you should respect the legacy of something that you've purchased and are supposed to be the caretaker of. You're supposed to be the steward of Dungeons and Dragons. Even though you didn't earn that honor, you purchased it, it still falls to you to respect the brand and to give the customers and longtime fans the respect that they deserve.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for watching, everyone, and thanks for putting up with this. This was a rant that's been weighing heavy on my heart for some time, and it's not something I expected to produce a video about, but I think it's important, and I really think the customers should be wary of trusting this company, as they have proven time and time again that they are not trustworthy. I love D&D. I always have. And this channel is very much devoted to a lot of D&D things. But if you take notice, a lot of it is aimed more toward correcting things that I think were done wrong in 5th edition. As well as adding some things, just throwing out some flavor, making our own monsters, our own magic items, and having some fun. That's what this game's all about, is having fun. And my aim, my goal, what I would like to see is for everyone to continue having fun playing Dungeons & Dragons for a long time to come, or whatever other games you want to play. If you got anything out of this, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and check out my other videos, which you might find a little more helpful. They're not ranty videos, they're just offering options for your game. And that's what this channel is really all about. So check it out, and until next time, keep on rolling them straight, and may the dice forever roll in your favor.